All right, good evening and welcome to another installation of a Fantastic Five interview series. I'm especially excited because this series is going to be all about the veterans. I'm excited even more because I have a very good friend of mine, Ms. Yolanda Lee. She retired from the United States military as a colonel. Lee, for those who don't know you, can you please just share a little bit about you, your background, and where you come from and so forth?
Okay, thank you, Rodriguez, for having me, first of all. My name is Yolanda Lee, and I am a 30-year veteran, but I am a proud Washingtonian. I'm from right here in Washington, D.C., Southeast D.C., as a matter of fact. I attended all DC public schools, graduated from Blue Senior High School, went on to go to the University of District of Columbia, as well as Howard University. While at Howard and UDC, I decided to join ROTC, kind of got some direction or focus and said, hey, I think this is what I want to do. And so, well, prior to that, I actually joined the Guard, at age 17, before even coming out of high school. I guess I got that direction and focus way back when. However, when I got to college, actually, it gave me more clarity in what I wanted for my life, and that's when I decided to become an officer. So, like I said, born and raised in Southeast Washington, D.C.
Beautiful, and thank you for sharing that with us. As you know, this is all about the veterans, military, and what we believe in. And as a veteran myself, I'm especially excited about this particular interview, especially interviewing you. And you're the first in the series of interviews. I'm really excited about that. Since we're talking about the military, what made you go into the military?
As I stated, I was 17 years old. I was at Blue. I really had no folk desired knowledge. When I was in high school, I wasn't the greatest student. I wasn't a bad student. I like to think that I was I was a BC student. And I was just over school and felt like I needed something to do once I graduated, didn't want to necessarily become what they call a product of my environment. So I was trying to figure out what can I do that didn't entail me going to college.
Right.
And so, right. So I was like, oh, okay, light bulb. I met a recruiter one day, and a recruiter said, hey, all these wonderful things that you could be in the military while receiving
the paycheck.
And it was like, bingo. Right. So it was like, bingo, this is me. That's what I'm going to do. Sign me up. So that's what made me go in the military. Just didn't want to be a product of the environment.
And interesting. I don't know if you remember, but I also went to Blue for the 9th grade, as a matter of fact. And people, it's like, oh, Nestor Rodriguez, you ain't go to Southeast school. I was right there with y'all. You recognize I was a little foreigner in the corner. Nevertheless, here I am today.
Yes.
So, you've been in the military for what, 30-something years now, right? You decided that very early to go in the military. And most people don't realize this later on in life. So I want to be a leader. Obviously, you figured that out early in your life, to be and to make some money while you're doing it, right? You've seen a lot of changes and trends in over the 30 years. If you can just talk a little bit about the changes and trends you've seen by the time you went in 30 years ago to now.
Well, one of the major changes that I noticed, and I actually just had this conversation the other day with somebody else, was the Army stance on sexual harassment and sexual assault. That has changed tremendously from the time that I came in as a 17-year-old girl.
In what way?
Back on that time, it was almost common practice for inappropriate, sexually explicit conversations to take place, no matter if it made you uncomfortable or not. They said things like, oh, we'll report it if someone makes you feel bad. However, when you report it, nothing really result of it.
Lee.
Years and movements took place, and one or other things started to take a tougher stance on. Can you hear me? No.
I can hear you now, but you were breaking up, so I kind of missed the whole answer to that question. I think I can hear you a little clearer now. Can you repeat that again? And you're
Okay.
frozen actually on the screen. You're frozen. And that's fine. You can be frozen as long as I can hear you.
I am.
Yep, but I can hear you. So let's go ahead. No worries.
Okay. On my screen, it don't look, I can't tell that I'm frozen.
You can see
Okay.
me moving,
So
right?
one of the things that I was saying was the Army stance on sexual harassment and sexual assault.
Yes.
No, you're frozen. Can you hear me clear?
Yep, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. Lee?
One of the biggest trends is yes, connection, because I seem to hear you very clearly every time.
Yeah, you're going in and out. All right, let me try moving to a different location. And you know what?
Okay, let me see about.
This is the good thing about us being military. We just adjust. And the war is so on. All right. Can you hear me?
So I don't think it's my connection because it seems like I got all my people with me. I got Verizon.
Nope, I think it's mine. I usually do it sitting over here, but I decided to face a different way. But it's good. We're good. So
Okay.
Please continue on.
Do I start? Are you going to edit this? So do I start from the beginning as if?
No, this is no edit. We're good. If you want, we can end this and we start it all from scratch again. But it's okay. This is what we do. This is why this is beautiful, because we're so, and we have to adjust accordingly. Right? We can't stop the war. Right? So this is great. So
okay.
Don't even trip about
okay.
it. Yeah. Right? These things happen, right? So are we gonna just stop and this is a nice conversation. We're having fun. So I'm good with this. Right? And I want to keep it as real like this because these things happen.
Gotcha.
So, but we don't want to shortchange anybody because the questions and the answers are even more important. So the question still remains, the changes and trends that you've seen over the years from the time you went in 30 years ago to now, and you were talking about and you elaborate about, for one example, was the sexual harassment, how things have changed. So please continue with that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was saying. Sexual harassment, sexual assault, all of those things have changed. The Army just moved into a tougher stance of protecting female soldiers, not just female soldiers, men soldiers as well. It's because they do experience sexual harassment and sexual assault. However, I think the Army was a little lax in the way in which they dealt with situations, they dealt with soldier issues. Although we don't catch every last incident and I can't sit up here and say every incident is handled the correct way. Mm-hmm. I will say the Army has put in tougher policies and procedures in place in how we deal with sexual harassment. So,
well, that
like that's changed.
Can you hear me, Lee?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, the last part of that was a little choppy, but I got the it, which is now that you're saying that from the time that you came in to now, one of the changes you've seen that the Army's gotten a lot tougher on sexual harassment now, right? And I can remember even before there was a big thing about the Army, though, like the one big incident that kind of started this whole sexual harassment thing was a sergeant major of the Army was accused and he ended up retiring from the military because of sexual harassment. And from that point, kind of like every policy came on after that. So
yes,
I can see the changes in the trend. So that's a good thing. All right.
That's a good thing.
Definitely.
The other thing.
Now, please, you go ahead.
Another thing that I noticed was our Army PT program, right? And so it was our physical fitness, which is what PT stands for, physical fitness test. Mm-hmm. The test was just to measure your endurance using push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. Mm-hmm. However, just recently, as a matter of fact, so recent that the new standard has not fully taken effect across the board. And when I say across the board, it's still in its diagnostic phase. But yeah, we do have a new ACFT, I think is Army Combatives Physical Fitness Test or whatever.
Right.
And so that new test is more so designed now to make sure that you can still perform your duties and your tasks in more of a wartime environment. So it's not just about how many push-ups you can do or how many sit-ups you can do. We do things like throwing medicine balls over
Wow.
head, so we wait. We're doing deadlifts with the weights to see how much can you actually get up off the ground at one time. And the standards are now the same for male and female. It's all based
Really?
on it's all based on now your MOS and what job that you do. So you might think that if you are service support, a medic, oh, you might not have to score as high. But
Right.
no, medics do have to score just as high, if not higher in certain areas, because now medics are dealing with humans. They're dealing with lifting people,
Right.
lifting bodies, and those type of things. So whereas to someone that's logistics, we may not have to do as much because I was not deal with lifting bodies, and we typically have material handling equipment to lift pallets and those things. So the way they have the standards now is set up more to be able to accomplish your job in your field. So that's one of the trends. Another thing is that's a big one, the PT. That's a big one because the newer standards, they're much harder. Like most people can do push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. And by the time you finish basic training, it's relatively easy. To outside people, it looks like it could be hard. But by the time you do your 6 weeks of basic training, it ain't nothing,
You're doing it every day.
The next thing you doing it every day, and all you do is maintain what you. And
I'm sorry, Lee,
I notice is the systems.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that last one again because you broke up a second?
I think I said something like, if by the time you finish basic training, they've prepared your body for the long haul and endurance or whatever, so you can get it done.
So now what I'm hearing you say is like the PT test is based more so according to your MOS. And not necessarily now that everybody's a war fighter, but so now they just segmented and said, well, if you're admin, you can do 5 push-ups. If you're so in comma, you do 10 push-ups. If you get down to be 11 Bravo, then you got to do 100 push-ups, whatever. So that's what I'm hearing. Everything is segmented like that based on your job. That's interesting. Wow.
Yes. That is how. And like I said, there's no male or female standards. Is one standard.
Ooh, that changed as well, because before there was the 2 standards.
Yeah, it's one standard, and it's just based. Yeah, it's based as the moderate tier or the proficient tier. Based off of. So, for example, if for the deadlift, if you only have to do 3 deadlifts, don't matter if you're a male or female, right? But you do 10 deadlifts, then you might fall into the moderate. If you do 20 deadlifts, you might fall into the proficient. You know what I'm saying? So it's no longer male or female, it's gender neutral.
Did they get rid of the qualifications? Before, if you get a 290 and above, then you can go to master fitness course automatically because that's the minimum. So is that part that way as well, or in this new system?
So that's what I'm not sure of, because as the new PT test was being implemented, I was in retirement mode.
Right.
So I was not doing it probably, to that level. So it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Once you
okay,
turn
that's
on
what y'all gonna
retirement
be
mode,
doing. I'm about to
right,
retire.
right, yeah.
Right.
Once you turn on
Right.
retirement mode,
So
it's like, yeah, forget everything.
right. So that's exactly what was happening. Oh, so that's what y'all gonna be doing? Oh,
Right, I'm
okay.
out.
So yeah, I do know what it entails, but I'm not as
Right,
knowledgeable on all of
got
that.
you, got you. I understand.
Mhm.
I was in the same way as well. Once you turn it on, it's like, yeah, I'm in civilian mode.
Yes, yes.
Who's doing that?
When I saw the new standards, I did do the diagnostic the first time just to see if I was physically able to do it. But
Right.
it did become like, oh, I'm not doing that.
I'm
Oh,
definitely
okay. So
retired.
yeah, I'm definitely yeah.
Forget about it.
Mhm.
Let's go on to the next question then. That question is, what advice would you give to somebody coming into the military today for the first time? And granted, you've seen 30 years of changes, right? Now, if someone's coming in now, you anticipate they're going to do at least 20 to 30 years in the military like you have. So what advice would you give someone coming in today?
The best advice that I would give them is to come in with an open mind and with the understanding that you're there to accomplish a self goal, an internal goal and an internal mission. And once you go there with an open mind and coming in for self, not for anybody else, but you're coming in because this is what you truly want to do, to embetter yourself, to embetter your family situation, to in your life.
Mhm,
It makes the other challenges that you will endure easy.
mhm,
When you're coming in with the wrong mindset,
mhm.
this could be probably one of the worst career that you could ever have.
Right,
But if you coming in with a right mindset and being open, open to anything and to new challenges and willing to learn, this could probably be one of the best careers that you'll ever have when to other individuals who have never been in the military.
no doubt.
So when they when they first come in, they come in with this jaded perspective of what the military is. And a lot of times it's downhill from there, especially if the individuals that they've been talking to um, just don't know, or if the individuals that they've been talking to are individuals who have bad experiences.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, so one of the things that I would say is just be open minded, come in with the knowledge and the understanding that you want something greater and better.
Mhm.
The other advice that I would give to individuals, you know, is understanding that education doesn't stop because you came in the military. One of the things that I said when I first was talking about it, when you asked me why did I come in the military, I said I came in the military because I didn't want to go to school. I was a
Right,
BC student. By the time I finished with high school, I was over it. You
right,
know, um, and I was just trying to figure out my next move without education. Um, I just want them to understand that education doesn't stop because you came in the military. As a matter of fact, it's going to continue even
right.
more so
That's
now
right.
that you're in the military. You need different classes and courses to
That's
keep
right.
being promoted, whether you're in the
Right.
officer spectrum or the NCO spectrum.
Yep.
And then as you learn and grow in the military, you're going to seek education.
That's
You're
right.
going to seek to be better, to be greater, because in order to grow, you have to learn.
That's
So
right.
as you're
That's right.
growing, you're
Right.
learning, you're
That's right.
seeking education. So just really come in with an open mind, ready to learn, ready to embrace all the new things in the military. The military is unlike any other organization that you'll ever
No
join.
doubt. No doubt.
When I got promoted at my last promotion, one of the things that I said is, what job can you go to and you be personnel today? A year from now, you're MP.
Right.
A year from that, you're an MP warden in the prison in Kuwait. And then a year from that, you're doing a humanitarian mission in Jamaica or
Right.
Burkina Faso. It's like the different things that you do in the military, it is so overwhelming, and so rewarding and meaningful,
At the same time, right.
So at the same time, right? And
Right.
then, even with that said, some of that stuff you say, this got to be the biggest crock of in, in my life, But then when you sit back and you reflect on it,
Mhm.
you smile because you say, even through the tough times, even through the terrible experiences, you find joy and humor. So for those individuals that's thinking about coming in, I just say come in with an open mind, do a brain dump on all the negative things that you heard, and allow it to be whatever it's going to be for you, and get a genuine experience of what the military has to offer.
So with that said, then what would you say makes for the best kind of leaders
I say for the best kind of leaders, is
in the military?
relatability, right?
Credibility,
Relatability, relatability,
reliability, reliability.
relatability, credibility, empathy, all of those things. So, for example, you can't be so far removed from the soldier that you can't understand what they're going through, empathize, guide them in the best way. And if you can't, they're not going to respect you.
Right.
So if you can't empathize with them and put yourself in their shoes and understand, hey, if I was going through this, how would I want somebody to treat me?
Mhm.
And if you cannot do that, then you cannot be, you will not be a good, effective leader.
That's right. That's right. And this the next question kind of parallels that in a sense, and that will be then how do you best serve your soldiers? If you can, and then you kind of touched about it in the way, what makes the best leader, but those are the characteristics. Now we talk about in action and how do you best serve them? For me, it just comes to mind is like you got to be a protector of your soldiers. You got to take the hit for your soldiers. You got to be that the lion, the lioness, not necessarily the lion. The lion just sits back, but the lioness is really takes care of the cubs. She goes and does the hunt. She does all the hard work. So am I hitting along the right space in that?
That's definitely that. It's how do you take care of your soldiers? One is you gotta be truthful. You gotta be truthful and upfront. You gotta be like you said, a protector.
Mhm.
So in the military, I mean, I guess in any job, in any organization, when you think about it, you got a tier system, right?
That's right.
And you as an employee or you as a soldier, I think for the most part, people are trying to do what's right by the organization or by the
Mhm.
company in which they belong to, right?
Right.
However, there's always things that change. There's always hiccups.
Mhm.
There's just always different variables, right?
Right.
And in the military, we have this thing where I want to make sure I put this right, where you always follow the last command given, right? So the
Mhm.
last command might necessarily not be what the intent of your command or what your leadership may happen. When you're trying to follow commands and do right, you need that leadership of those supervisors at the top that's going to you and make sure that you're not just a whipping board or
Mhm.
you're not just a dumping ground for assignment.
Mhm.
And that you're taking care of, not just your whole soldier well-being, your mental
Mhm.
health, your physical health,
All of that.
your emotional stability, based off of the workload, right?
Right.
So I think it's all of those things in terms of protection. You know, we as leaders, we're charged with so much as it relates to the soldiers. Some things, some people are not even clear of. It's almost like your mommy daddy, right? Because it's a
Right.
little different than the civilian world. Yes, it's a 9 to 5, and you know,
Right.
and then anything after. But you need in the military that almost parental type figure, or that leadership type figure, to say, oh no, you know, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're not going to do,
Right.
or this is what we, you know, what's in the best interest of not just the organization, labor soldier.
That's right.
So yeah, I think from a leadership perspective, how do I best help them? I best help them by being strong, by being a strong leader, and not be passive or passive aggressive, just strong. And you know, being upfront, being being fair, being equal across the board, and understanding that equal across the board is still situational based, because
right.
not every situation is equal or the same. So in terms of being a leader, you got to be able to hear. You got to be able to hear soldiers. You
Listen.
got to be able to listen. Yes, not just hear, but listen, and understand, and be able to develop in the situation. Fair, what's fair, and what's consistent across the board, you know? It's so many different dynamics, but the biggest dynamic is, you know, do what you say and say what you mean.
And that's the one beautiful thing about the clear distinction between soldiers and civilians. You know, civilians have it easy. They do 9 to 5, and it is what it is. But as a soldier, like you mentioned, you can be, today you're doing admin, tomorrow you're doing communication, the next day you're doing logistics. Now I'm an MP. Now I'm in, you know, this, and it's like the dynamic, right? And the whole thing is that war, it's fluid like that. It's not just static. It's just changing. We have to adjust. Hence, like you mentioned, that you know, the changes in policy in terms of sexual harassment. Hence, you mentioned the changes in PT. So even the war fighters go through the ebb and flow of changes. So you know that happens. The best soldiers adapt to that. And obviously, you adapted. You did 30 years, and you're here now. You know, I'm so happy that we're able to share it. And it brings us to the last question, which is the crispy one. Right? This question is, you know, obviously you've probably amassed a lot of, you know, real estate, a lot of property, a lot of money, investments. You got all these, you know, kind of stocks, whatever, right? And if you were to die today, and you couldn't take any of those things with you, and you couldn't leave any of that with anybody, what 3 principles will you leave to the next generation for succeeding in the military, for succeeding in life, succeeding in business, or otherwise? What 3 principles would those be, and why would you choose those?
Okay, so the 3 principles is set goals.
You gotta wait. You gotta pause.
And if I can,
you're breaking up.
Okay, I'll say set goals.
Set goals. Oh, this connection is bad today. I'm breaking up.
Be focused.
Set goals. Be focused.
I'll elaborate. Set goals.
Be focused.
And my last one would be patience.
Patience. I love that one. It's one of my favorite ones. Now, what do you pick? Why do you pick those 3?
Patience. Okay, goals. Like, when I think about goals, if you don't know what you're working towards, then you just work, you know. So you got to have some type of goals in place that you're working to achieve, right?
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah, it's just like you know, if you like I said, if you don't have goals, then you're just spinning your wheels. You're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
working, but you're
Yep.
working for what?
Right.
What is it that you like to see? What are the fruits of your labor that you would like to achieve? You know,
Exactly.
and so successful people, they're not just out here nilly-manilly walking around looking in space.
Mhm.
They set their goals, and then they're working to achieve them.
That's right. That's right. Excellent one.
you know. And when I say working to achieve them, that's your focus, you know. So your goals,
Yes.
folks, once you want set goals, you got to understand that um, either whatever you like to believe is coming, you know, a different under a different set of rules and
Mm-hmm.
different priorities. Set those goals, there's so many different obstacles that's going to be thrown in your way. We talked about
That's
that
right.
earlier when
That's right.
talking about me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I said how the obstacles got in my way, and I lost focus, right? But I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
back into it. That was before we even started the interview, right?
Right.
So
Full
it's
circle.
just that,
Right.
right? You gotta understand that nothing is easy in this life, right? Right?
Right.
Ain't
Right.
nothing easy, and ain't nothing gonna given to you.
Mm-hmm.
So with every setback, you know, I know it hurts the ego, and it plays on your focus, right? And so we started to lose our way, and next thing you know, we was working towards this goal, and now we starting to become wayward. Our focus is off, right? So my next thing is focus, right?
Right.
Mhm. And so determination. Patience was my last one, but I did say determination. I don't know if we
That's a
caught
good
that, but determination, right? So determination, mhm, determination is going to cause us from failing, right? So a young girl, 17 years old, out of Southeast DC, trying to become a product of my environment, right? So when I got when I when I when I got to the military, I was still trying to figure this out, edges. And so many different individuals was like, oh, she ain't gonna make it, she this, she that. So I think those negative comments, it fueled the fire in my stomach.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna
And
show
so from
them.
that point on, right, I'm gonna show them I was
Mm-hmm.
determined
Mm-hmm.
that I could not fail, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that determination, it lit my soul,
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yes.
that, a little bit of negative criticism,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't bad for nobody. It helps to
Right.
fuel you. It
Builds
helps
character.
you,
That's right.
in a lot of ways. And it builds character, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I say determination. And my last one is patience, right? And especially for this generation, especially for this generation.
Especially.
So
Especially.
we want what we want.
Yes. And you want
Yes,
it now.
we want what we want. And
And you want it now.
you want it now, but you got to stand, and people will look at you and they will look at me or you making that, but they didn't see the struggle along the way. And they didn't see that you've been at this for 20 something years. And you
Exactly.
didn't just come in year one
Yep.
making
Yep.
what you were making, or had
Mm-hmm.
the ability and freedoms to do the things that you were doing. You put in time, you put in hard work,
Right.
you put in education, going
Mm-hmm.
back and forth to school, and all of those things. So you understand that, anything worth working for, and you got pressures, because it doesn't happen overnight. Now,
Yep.
once you get up there and you back, you'll say, dang, that had to quit. But no, and all fares were rolling, them
That's
years were
right.
rolling. So they want instant gratification. Instant gratification. They want to come out of high school, not even college. They want to come out of high school making $20, $30 and getting that money, they like, oh no, I can't do this. No,
Right.
we didn't always make the money that we make, and you
That's
really
right.
gotta practice a little bit
You
more
gotta start
patience
somewhere.
and humility and all of those other things. Yeah, you gotta start somewhere, but they don't know, they don't want that. They want to start here. They want to start here. But sometimes you gotta start here.
Already.
So yeah, those are the principles that I will leave. So again, goals, focus, determination, and patience.
Patience. I love those. Are all beautiful and wonderful. I love them. I don't think I asked this question. We don't know what your rank is when you started in the military and what you're retiring now. And this is outside of the question.
Wow. So
I have to ask, put it in perspective for people. When you started, what was your rank and what you retired as? That's important.
So when I started off as an E1, as an E1.
At the totem pole.
At the bottom of the totem pole. And you heard me say, I went to ROTC, right? So I went to ROTC, and when you go to ROTC, it's supposed to allow you to start off as an E2 or E3.
Right.
However, you also heard me say I was trying to become a product of my environment back then, right? So even though I was in ROTC, my mouth was very much so still Southeast.
Right.
And so right before grad, me and the colonel, and so he wouldn't sign off on my paper to start me at the higher rank, saying I succeed, the paper that I needed him to sign. So bottom line, I started off as an E1 and I retired as an 05 lieutenant colonel.
Woo!
Yeah.
You now.
I would have loved to make colonel, but
look
at
at
05.
Not too many people able to make that transition from enlisted to officer. And you did
that was
a job. And you deployed. You're a combat veteran. You want to support Operation Iraqi Freedom and so forth. So you are a model of what other young people coming in can look at and say, damn, she came from Southeast. She started at the way, way bottom and she still made it to Lieutenant Colonel. Come on. You know what I'm saying? So I am so grateful that
Let me say this before this interview is over. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. This is your interview.
I said, let me say this before this interview is over, that's watching. So Sergeant Ernesto Rodriguez, what he isn't saying is that during that back then, he was my mentor when I was private and specialist and cadet lead. And he was one of the individuals who would have to pull me up and say, assume the learning position. Remember that? and for those of you who don't know, the learning position is whenever you talk to me, you should be having a pen and paper in your hands and notes. And so
that's funny.
So that's definitely one of the things that I took away from you. Because he was a senior NCO when I was just a private and trying to come up and go through the ranks. And when I was trying to go through ROTC, he was like, yeah, Lee, this is what you want to do. This is what you should do. And this, and this. So, you just need those individuals, and people look at you and they don't know your story or what you've been through or the individuals that help you. And they think because, I did achieve a higher rank than you did in my career. However, it's also one of those things for you and other individuals like you are doing and doing better and being better because individuals like you and some other people saw something in me that said, look, this is what you need to do. And this is how you need to do it. So though you didn't take that route, you definitely mentored myself and I'm sure some other officers and senior NCOs out there. So I want to say thank you for that.
No doubt, and I received that, and you're so welcome, Lee. That's just me. I just believe in helping this next generation because the way I got on, It was a lady sergeant first class Velda Fields. I was just like you. I was product of my environment. I wanted to be in that environment. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to get kicked out. So she pulled me aside and said, hey, you're young. You want us in your career. She got me a job. I didn't even know they had jobs in the Guard, right? So she got me a job in there and I got my career. I finally got a career and all she wanted, and she would buy me lunch every day. I mean, took care of me. I didn't have no money. You see, she schooled me how you take care of soldiers. And all she asked me was like, Rod, next, help the next person. So that has been my life work, and that's been with me since then to meeting you and to where I'm at now. It's all about help. Even this video is all about educating, empowering, motivating the next generation of leaders. I just want to give back and help back because I know that we're in a position as a people, we can do so much better. And part of that is about educating because it's easy when you know how. Right? Things that are difficult, we don't know how, but if we know how, where everybody will be doing it. So part of my role in my life, for me, my journey is about educating the next generation and the next person and helping them advance them. So because if they move forward, then we all move forward as a people. So I'm about my peoples. Power to the people at the end of the day. So, this brings us to the conclusion. This has been wonderful. Some things I knew about you and some things I learned new for the first time because I retired before you, 13 years ago, before you, 14 years ago, I think it was. And so you were still living through that. So I'm happy to be able to share your experience with learning about the, the new sexual harassment policy, new PT policy that changes. And I'm sure it's going to be changes coming along as the war changes and the dynamics of the war changes. So thank you for that. This conclusion of the interview is supposed to be 5 minutes, but I don't care because it's about content. It's about providing that information for the next generation. My name is Ernesto Rodriguez. I'm the chief consultant for JAE Consulting. My special, very special guest, Lieutenant Colonel Yolanda Lee, retired. Lee, if somebody wants to hear more about the military, about your experiences, and just learn more about you, how can they reach you, whether it be on social media or email or otherwise?
So I do have email. My email address is YLEE59@hotmail.com. And I am on Facebook, Yolanda Lee. And I guess if you type it in, it'll come up,
Right.
Send me a little send me a little message. I'll read your message and I'll reach back to you.
And hiding, but soldiers don't hide. You right there in the open.
I've been open.
I love it. My audience appreciates you. And in honor of Veterans Day, I salute you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.